let me log in here. So in our base demo right here, I'm going to log in as requester. So this is like starting the process to create a new vendor. It's starting from requester, and I can either, do a vendor lookup and edit. I'm going to go to requester and do add a vendor. So we start out with a form, and sure enough, part of that vendor form includes attachments.
Now, all of this information here will automatically populate JDE?
Right, it's either going to populate JDE or it's coming, the UDC tables are integrated against this form. So as an example, vendor search type, those values are coming from JD Edwards.
Excellent.
Make sense?
That is excellent.
Yeah, so it's interactive. It's a two-way street, both with, and at the end of the workflow process, we're going to create an address book, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and once again, this form is an example. It could be, but what we do in our demo environment, we try to take some of the projects that we've done and at least try to create a realistic form. But this would be your form, and it could be one page, it could be multiple pages, or tabs on a menu. It can really, the vision that you have for how the portal works, we could pretty much match the GUI, the look and feel, the behavior, the logic to what you would want. So I'm going to actually start out, and I'm going to say, this is vendor name, so I will say Carissa. Carissa, a new vendor, 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, this is the UDCs coming from, and I'm going to code you as a vendor. And once again, you decide the red asterisks, what you want mandatory or not. And obviously, you have to have mandatory, the necessary fields to create the address book in JD Edwards. That's at a minimum, but you can add if you wanted. So let's go Carissa, new vendor Inc. And attention, Carissa, and remittent address. Actually, I'm just going to have auto-populate from my profile. So I'm populating that. I can see that the vendor phone number is required. And once again, these could be pull downs coming from JDE. They could be pull downs coming from custom tables in JDE or outside of JD Edwards, or it could simply be tables that we're creating that's part of the portal, part of our software application. And payment terms, obviously that would be coming from JD Edwards, which it is. So I'll just go with net 30. Direct deposits. This is a required field, tax ID or social security number. So I'm going to, and once again, logic behind there is a tax ID. It has to be 9 characters, as you know. And, I will grab a file to attach. And once again, we have 3, and this is our conversation with you. Do you want to just show 1 choose file, or do you want to show 3? And let's call it a tag name. So this is, vendor, and I think you called it certificate of performance.
Conformance.
A what now?
Conformance.
Conformance, okay. Is that how you spell it?
Yeah.
Oh. Thank you. And once again, do you want something like an attach more where they could, add as many attachments? This is one of a lot of different ways in which you can show more than 3 files. But once again, we converse with you, and we know the controls that we can use and how they can work, and we basically lay it out, and either in the design meeting or many times we get involved in that level of details even before during the sales campaign. So I'm going to go ahead, and once again, my user profile is requester, and I could either save this and exit, so I don't have to forward it in the workflow. By hitting submit, I'm actually saying, okay, it's a final submit. I want this to go through the VOB process. So with that, it's telling me that your request has been sent to AP Manager for approval. And your reference is, this number right here. And so that's an internal number because it's not in JD Edwards yet. It's going through workflow. But we do attach that number just in case you wanted to have, from an audit perspective, association between our application and JD Edwards. So I'm going to and by the way, you can see, the new vendor, update vendor, that's what that looks like. I'll show that in just a second. Delegation. So here's an example of workflow is you're going on vacation, so you want to delegate your responsibility to somebody else or create co-delegation. So the workflow logic can be, it could be, escalate after 24 hours or co-delegate. There's an infinite number of possibilities with the workflow logic, and that's why it works so much better having professional workflow than, say, shared folders or other processes. So I'm going to log in as the second role right now, and the second role is AP Manager. So AP Manager, the area I'm going to look at is approvals. So as an AP Manager, I could add a vendor. I could do a vendor lookup. I could do the delegation of my workflow if I'm, say, going on vacation, or I can simply work with the workflow, which is my actions. I've got 22 items to approve. Watch is simply that. Maybe you want to associate somebody to simply watch your workflow requests and logics. Maybe it's kind of like co-delegation, and this goes without saying what you've done in terms of submitted, composing. So I'm going to go into the approve, and I can see that I have new vendor request by requester, and it's and I spelled your name. Did I make it at? Oh no, that is an I. I thought it was an L. C-A-R-I-S-S-A. Okay. That would have been a mistake. So you can see it's a new vendor request. Now if I want to look at the details here. Now in this one, we purposely made AP Manager so they couldn't edit it. So it's really view only. And you can see the approval flow here. There's a 3-process flow: approved, submitted to AP Manager. That's where we're at right now. But from the portal perspective, they can either do deny. Sometimes there's another button, add more information, goes back to requester. So it's kind of a middle ground, or approve. So with approve, this is now, as you can tell, it's going to go to accounting. And there's that request again. So I will log out of AP Manager role and log in as accounting role. And there's my watch area. And here it is right here. Now when accounting brings it up, their roles and permissions. You can have an infinite number of roles and permissions. So you can see that they could edit this. Excuse me, right there. Whoops. They can't edit that. So you can do it at the column field level. So where with AP Manager there was no editing at all. It just showed it as, you got to take it as is. This one we're allowing select fields to be edited by accounting. So as an example, they can't update the vendor type, but they could update, which makes sense for accounting to do that, the payment terms. But Once again, scrolling down here, we can see at this point that if I do and approve on it, and this is a simple 3-step process. Now at this time, it's telling me that 557407, it was created in J.D. Edwards. So if I go to J.D. Edwards right now, and I'm logged out, now I could type that number in here, or I could do, as you know, an alpha search, so that's what I'm going to do. Do Carissa, do a find. There it is, the 557407. So if I do a select on that, and we can see that your setup, basically in the background we work through address book revisions. There's the mailing information, and I believe somewhere we have that association to our internal number, related addresses. Is it in the CAT code? Non-employees. So there's defaults that we're selecting based on the, okay, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I know it's somewhere, that reference number. But as you can see, it's in here. So from the perspective, and let's just do a cancel on here. Oh, and there's the media object. Now, the media object, click here to download. Okay, so the media object was not the file. It could have been the file. It's simply,
Right.
It's simply a comment that was automatically created. But that's where I'm getting into the example with the documents association. You would tell us we can work with any area of J.D. Edwards, standard or custom tables, and it becomes a requirements exercise.
Excellent.
Okay. One last thing I wanted to do with vendor onboarding is let me come in here, log out, and go back to requester and log in. And once again, vendor lookup. So I could do a find that way, and there it is. So this is the process of, say, coming in here and saying there is an address change, and I could say the address change is 123 Main Street, and that's the only one. So you can see I can come in here and I retrieve that. So now I come back here and I do a submit. Oh, now this is telling me the vendor phone number is required. So let's do that. And why this didn't get passed in, I'm not sure, but it is a demo environment. But now by doing this, it's saying the vendor request submitted to AP Manager for approval. So once again, if I go now to log out, log in to AP Manager, I can see the approval here is now for a vendor change request. A vendor, change request by requester for this address book, but once again, you come back, is this good enough to simply highlight the change in red, or did you want us to show you the old address, cross it out, and show you the new value? So that's all part of the implementation details. But as you can see, there's only 2 levels on this one. So if I did an approve here, it should tell me that it's updated in J.D. Edwards, and hopefully I get that message. There we go. So it was updated in J.D. Edwards, which means that if I do 557407 and do a find and do a select and go to mailing. There it is right there. So it was changed. But once again, that was a two-step. And what I'm mentioning, like with Fox and other companies, is they have workflow processes that they want done at the position level, not at the individual address book in some cases. Sometimes the workflow is simultaneous. Fox, depending, and there's certain fields, so depending on how you're entering the form, it might be a 5-step process because it's a more strategic vendor versus a 2-step process. There's so many different ways in which the logic and the process flow can work.